25-year veteran public school teacher, she is pleased to be reading to an audience whose average age is slightly older than the 5-year-olds she is used to. Suzy is reading 10 Days That Shook My World.
My second daughter, Sophie Olivia, would have turned 17 this year. Sophie was born at home on March 21st, 1994, the first day of spring. It was a perfect spring day, so balmy that we had the windows open. The crocuses were in bloom in our yard. I went into labor that morning, but felt compelled to do a number of errands before the birth. Therefore, I was out and about through most of my labor. We picked up my sister, who was a midwife and had come to Madison to attend the birth. We made it home, barely. Sophie was born a scant hour later. I am extremely grateful that we chose to birth Sophie at home. Had she been born in the hospital, her heart condition would probably have been detected earlier, and she may never have been at home. As it was, she got to be a normal newborn baby for an entire week. We spent that week saying hello, before all the medical stuff kicked in and we ultimately had to say goodbye. Sophie was born with a heart condition called aortic stenosis, a malformed aortic valve. It was detected when she was 1 week old. When she was 10 days old, she underwent valvuloplasty, a procedure much like angioplasty, where a balloon is inflated in the heart valve to enlarge the opening. In a scenario akin to jumping out of the way of an oncoming car and getting hit by a bus, in the process of repairing her aortic valve, Sophie's heart was accidentally punctured in a different place. Despite emergency open heart surgery, she died. It was nobody's fault. There was no negligence involved. It simply happened. After she died, driving home that evening, my husband and I realized that both of us had been having thoughts of Sophie's death all through those 10 days. Even before anyone even knew she had a heart defect. They were thoughts that would just pop into our heads seemingly from out of the blue. Better get birth announcements out before you have to write the obituary was one. What will it be like to be the parent of a baby who died was another. Afterwards, I believe those thoughts were coming from Sophie. She knew she wasn't staying very long and was preparing us for her departure. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote that children who are dying frequently do that. There were other signs. Sophie didn't have that new baby smell. I noticed it right away. I would bury my nose in her hair, sniff and smell nothing. She lost her umbilical cord stump really soon, within a couple of days of birth, making it possible for her big sister, Anna, to take a bath with her, something she had looked forward to. There was one evening when my husband was holding her out in his hands, looking at her face, and this week-old baby lifted her head from his hand and puckered up her lips to him. He kissed her and then looked at me in astonishment, saying, "Did you see that?" The night before she went to the hospital, I had her on my lap, and she opened her eyes and stared at my face. For the longest time, she just held my eyes with hers with the most peaceful and loving look. While the doctors were trying to save her life, I briefly fell asleep and had a dream of a large circle of people who I understood to be old souls who were embracing Sophie. I woke up and we ran to where she was. That's when they let us come in to say goodbye. We stroked her and kissed her while the line on the monitor went flat. Long before I had children, I read somewhere that grief is a year-long resident in a house where a child has died. Indeed, for that first year, I felt like my heart had been torn out, thrown on the ground, and stomped on. I have sweet memories too, mostly of the love with which friends and family enveloped us. For me, it was also a profoundly spiritual experience. I still think of Sophie many times in a day, every day. Sometimes I feel bereft. I often wonder who she was, who she would have been. Most of the time, her death feels like part of the fabric of my life, and I wouldn't change that. Now, after so many years have passed, I welcome the sad moments that make me pause and reflect on this daughter who will forever be my baby. I have a sense that she checks up on us. Sometimes I find little gifts, heart shapes in unexpected places. Our older daughter used to say that Sophie came and played with her. 2 years after Sophie's death, we had another daughter, Grace, making the circle feel complete again. Motherhood is a mystery and a blessing.